This is a very interesting one. So you must have had seen programs with Coffee with Karan and other celebrity talks. But this is truly going to be a celebrity talk where we are going to hear from one of the blessings of the Catholic Church that we have received in the form of Archbishop Vincent. And there are some questions that we as parishioners would like to ask the Archbishop. And, and for that, we have a small fireside chat with some questions that we would like to ask the Archbishop about his life. So, handing it over to Jennifer Lobo, who will be asking these questions to the Archbishop.
His Grace, we have seen that wonderful memories in the video. But on this day, we cannot forget few moments of all this journey of your life so far. And definitely, we would like to hear from you. Few things. So, as a general conversation, I'll be just putting across few memorable moments of your journey and would like to hear from you. Firstly, this day wouldn't have been possible if your call to the priestly vocation was not there. So, as the scripture says, they left the boat and their father and followed him. Would like to hear from you what you would like to say for this call, the priestly vocation call that you had.
Well, I wanted to be a priest from childhood. I had no reason. I just wanted to be a priest. And when my father had a stroke and my mother asked me to postpone my joining the seminary, there wasn't any thought process to motivate me, nothing of the kind. I just wanted to go, and I did. Because once I was behind the doors, I was trying to get out, really. But then somehow God worked it out and stayed on till the end. And I got the meaning of it after my ordination. I had forgotten about what had happened before. But after my ordination, when I went to see an uncle of mine, he said, I was surprised that you decided to go. But on a second thought, I felt that had you not gone, you would never have gone.
Yes.
And I realized what vocation is. God decides first. You don't. And when He calls, He gives all that you need in order to listen to Him. That came out very clearly when I heard that remark by my uncle. Well, I suppose that's about my vocation. And I realize that people who are called, when they respond, everything works out somehow, in spite of difficulties. And for those young people who are wondering what they should be, what they should do,
Yes.
I would suggest listen to what God is telling you in prayer. And don't worry about the cost. He will make up for whatever is lacking,
So that's the message for the youth. I would
say.
feel that you are saying it to them, that whatever struggles or whatever situations, challenges you come across, please go with the God's call and God will take care of everything. His Grace, there is, in life we all have a divine plan of God that we come across, we feel. In your life, what you feel, what were those moments where you felt God was there with you at that very moment?
Yes. I have very clearly felt God's hand in my life. I would never have been here to talk to you had it not been God's protection. 60 years ago, I would have died. I was in the pool of St. Columbus School, breathless and unconscious, underwater. The other person in the pool was Archbishop Angelo, my bishop then. And he did not hear my screaming because he used to block his ears. But it so happened that particular night, there was some work on the CBCI center, and the workers there heard my scream, and they came and alerted my Archbishop. He dragged me out, but it took quite some time before I could breathe. So that was a clear indication that God literally saved me, pulled me out. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had this occasion to celebrate.
Yes. Any other incident that you feel, any such other moments?
Certainly.
Yeah.
That was one. Second one was when I was driving, this was in the States, and I took a wrong turn. And you know, they keep the rules. So there was a truck coming on the main road, and I just missed it by an inch. It was almost as though I died and came to life. And I don't think I thanked God so intensely and so repeatedly then on that day, from the moment it happened till I reached the rectory.
So that's the...
Yeah, it was again clear hand of God saving me from death. Yes.
So the divine plan of
And
God
the last
and the
one was
intervention.
recently. That recently means about a year ago when I was admitted in Holy Family Hospital.
The COVID effect. we all know about it, but still, if you would like to share a few...
Yeah, the doctor told me, you may go back, you may not go back.
and you spread it out.
And he asked me, did you understand what I said? I said, yes. But he was not convinced. He said, you know, we give a special option for priests that they can have themselves on, what do you call them, that
Palliative care? A ventilator.
they ventilate.
Okay.
Somehow I forget that word.
No problem. Good you forget that.
You can be on the ventilator till the end.
Okay.
The message could not be clearer.
Good.
But I did not feel upset. I do not know why. I didn't feel upset at all. But when I pulled out my mobile, I was trying to send messages to say, the Lord has decided to take me back. Thank you for everything you did and all that. But I don't know whether I typed it out properly or what. I sent it to the wrong people also. Written to one, sent to somebody else. Anyway, that was the last time when the message came to me that God still wanted me to carry on. I don't know for how long.
He'll keep sending you such messages.
Pardon me?
He'll keep sending you such messages
Sure.
that you are here with us.
Sure.
His Grace, as a tenure Bishop of Delhi Diocese, you have headed many offices, religious foundations, and has always been at the forefront of serving the community. So SSC was one of them. And would like to hear anything you would like to say about the Thursday open house, which was started.
I think that is one of the best decisions I took. I missed it when I did not have it. And I learned a lot from the poor. It was more for me to listen to them than anything else. Some people maybe got the idea that I was distributing money and all that. Not at all. The main thing was I listened to them. And they spoke and taught me. I can give you many instances of how they taught me. Maybe I could take one now. I shared one yesterday at the community center. This was a tribal couple who came to see if I could help. And the story is this, that this man and his wife also had some money in the bank. And a friend of theirs came asking for help. So he withdrew his money and gave it to him. He was supposed to return it within a month. He did not. He came back to ask him for some more money. And he was saying that he was going to get it from money lenders. And he said that I was getting a little upset that he should have acted so stupidly. But when I heard their explanation, I was humbled. You know the thinking behind? When somebody needs and I have the thing to give him, it is his, not mine. And this couple borrowed money from a money lender, and again it could not be repaid. And the money lenders began to bother him. They had to change their house, they had to, all kinds of things they had to do, and it was that time they came to tell me whether I could do something about it. I mean, I thought within myself, these are the saints. And therefore it was a privilege to be there.
So, would you like to say something about the Diocesan Synod 2002? Would you like to say a few things about it?
Say about.
The Diocesan Synod 2002.
I think ours was one of the very few dioceses which organized a synod. It was a wonderful experience of listening. We had people from all sections. There were priests, religious, laity, and I remember at the end of the synod, one parishioner saying, "Bishop, we must have this every year." Must have this every year. But I could see the joy also they experienced just because they were taken seriously and their thinking was considered. That was a wonderful experience, and I think we drew up clear plans in consultation with the laity in particular, and many problems were sorted out because of that.
So now with this new universal, the church convoked in this synod now, the synodality that we are talking about, maybe just a few words on that.
It's a great blessing, and I feel definitely it is the Holy Spirit who inspired the Pope to call this synod, where right from the family, right up to the Pope, people were to be listened to and work with for any renewal in the church. And it includes everybody, not only Catholics, but outreach programs also with others, like other Christians and other people of other faiths and so on.
We saw a few glimpses of you meeting the living saints. So, whom all did you actually meet? And one, you already mentioned the living saints, who were the part of your journey, which you mentioned about the Thursday open house.
Yeah.
But the actual living saints?
Yeah. Mother Teresa was one, and then Pope John Paul II. I met one more, the founder of the Polish Fathers. I think he's blessed. I'm not sure whether he has been, but he's in line. Alberione.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, one finding that I got,
yeah.
particularly by meeting Mother Teresa, I had a few meetings, and I gave a retreat once, which she also took. She participated in that. And I remember she used to sit in the chapel, in the particular posture. And I used to think that she must be in ecstasy.
Okay.
But when I read the book about her, for her it was hell. Literally hell. She had no joy of the Lord at all. And for years, not a day or two. The darkness of the soul is mentioned by some other saints also. And I saw it there in her after I read the book. It looked as though she was lost in contemplation, but no, it was just hell, she says. And if there's any place like hell, it is this.
Yes.
Well, what helped me see also is we have petty saints
Yes.
among us. Perhaps you do not recognize.
True.
And that's what I learned.
Yeah.
They look like any ordinary person, absolutely no halo or anything of the kind. And sometimes, like Mother Teresa, going through intense suffering, pain, and still being faithful to the Lord.
That way our Lord was among people and we didn't know he was among people in his time. So we are aware about that.
Sure.
We know that. as
And the
well.
more you recognize it,
Yeah.
the greater will be the challenge to follow them.
Yes, His Grace. So His Grace, would you like to say something about your meeting, the popes you have met, I think 3 of them in person?
No, I have met them mostly in the context of meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no
Pope
personal
John
interactions?
Paul II used to also invite us for a meal with him, which his followers stopped. That was a very pleasant thing. And there was a big difference between our meeting when he was okay and then when he was sick. When he was younger, he was so full of life and he would keep you talking. But when he was sick, you had to do all the talking. You would just listen. Just listen. He had the map of India, the ashes of Delhi, and you would just listen to what you had to report on.
Okay. So, but as you have seen these leaders leading, the church, Universal Church, you feel that, how it has evolved from then now, and in the journey of evangelization, do you feel a remarkable, change in, or anything that you would like to highlight in that?
Yes, well, I think we are clearer about the mission of the church. The church exists, these are the words of Paul VI, the church exists to evangelize.
Okay, yes.
Not just, as the old catechism said, to know God, love Him, and be happy with Him forever. No neighbor included. No. The church exists to evangelize, and that for me is the mission of the church. And unless that is fulfilled, the church is not church. The church is not church.
Very true.
And we have a long way to go there.
Yes.
We have a long way to go.
Yes. So as we move forward, I would like to take you back into your childhood memories. We have heard about your priestly life, we have heard about your bishop ordination anniversaries, celebrations and everything. So what do you think that was the most naughtiest moment of your childhood that we would like to hear? Because so far we've been hearing all good about you. But something as a child you would have done something which, we can hear from you.
I don't remember any very naughty things, but I remember one incident. Those days there was no TV and all that. So normal recreation was, after rosary, we should sit around and chat, share information and all that. So, one day, I used a bad word. I didn't even know what the meaning of that word was.
You remember that word? No.
The whole family jumped on me and made me kneel down. Recite the act of contrition.
Yes.
And only then go to bed. But I remember that.
Yeah, and I'm sure if the act of contrition, something goes here and there wrong, you'll have to memorize that again and say it, right?
No, but see, that was the way the family formed you.
Yes.
Literally, the greatest reformer or formator
Yeah.
is the family.
Yes.
And when I look back, I see saints among them. I can see it now.
I heard you telling once your mother in your daily rosary prayers, she had a special prayer at the end of it, God's call for the service. I mean, would you like to highlight that? You mentioned that in daily rosary prayer, your mother used to say a prayer
Oh,
on the
yeah.
last.
No, not my mother, it was my grandmother.
Oh, grandmother, sorry.
Because she was the one who taught us catechism and prayer and all that.
Yeah.
She used to add the last petition, Lord, if you decide, if you want, please call me to your special service.
Okay. Did
And
you
that
mention
meant-
your name also somewhere during those prayers? Maybe, one of my grandchild or...
No, she didn't mention. But then I used to get encouragement by the sisters in school, by the other parishioners, that you must be a priest. Whether that impacted my decision or not, I do not know. But that was there always. And then the particular situation in which I had to leave made it very clear.
So last but not the least, His Grace, our parish is privileged to have you amongst us. After your retirement, we have been blessed to have you in our presence, and as Father rightly said, you're so approachable for us as any other family member of ours we would feel. So we do not hesitate to approach you anytime, and you're always there for us. And we seek your time, guidance, blessings, and your support for everything that we feel. And we have never seen you saying no for it. But we would like to hear from your side of it, like what do you feel as a part of our family?
Well, I'm quite well looked after. The parish priests have been here, the present one, the assistants, and our cook and driver. Again, another example of saints, I would say.
Yes.
Wonderful people, always with a smile on their face, doing their duty, honest to the core, and good example of Christian life. So everything is looked after well, but I myself have not been able to give much to the parish, particularly after the COVID sickness. But my present contribution is mostly in terms of prayer.
That is
that
more important for us.
I find time for, and I do not know in my present incapacity whether I will be able
That
to.
is your
do
inner
more.
feeling, not the external feeling.
Yeah.
So thank you, His Grace, for your time and for sharing your journey with us, all
You're
this. Congratulate you once again on behalf of everyone, your Diamond Jubilee, and wish and pray for your good health, your spiritual journey continue, and your blessings stay with us as you move towards your Sapphire Jubilee. Thank you, His Grace.
Thank you.